Well, welcome everyone to another episode of the Bonner Breakdown. I'm here with Linnis Jellinek from Sandpoint Community Resource Center. Linnis, it's good to have you back on.
Thanks, Chris. It's great to be here today.
Yeah, and it was fun because you were my first episode ever.
Well, I'm glad it's not the last.
That's right.
I don't want to be
definitely
bookends.
Definitely not the last. Definitely not the last. Well, and there's a lot that's been going on in our world since you and I met back in August of 2019. Wow.
Is that when I was here?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
I was thinking it was earlier in the year, but
So, no, it was pretty crazy. Pretty crazy.
Lots going on.
Hey, with all that, really glad to have you on. We have had lots of changes. So one of the things that we do now that we didn't do then is I did a good report, but it was by myself. And I talk about, but I'd rather have my guests share what their good report is. So what do you have that's a good report?
Wow. I think the best news that I've heard recently from colleagues and other executive directors is that so many of the fundraisers are going to be back live and in person this year. So I'm really excited about all the organizations being able to just get back on track with their
That's good.
fundraising and plus those events are so much fun.
They are.
They just attract such a variety of people and including all of us that go, but not just the out of town guests, but all of us. So I'm
that's
really
great.
excited.
Yeah, wonderful.
To have all that back this year.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And it's nice because we're moving in a direction where, I think there's just been a lot of shifts in this kind of pivot that the nation's making towards trying to get past COVID.
Right.
And of course there's lots of things to still deal with that, but it's good to see us moving in that direction, which is awesome. So tell me, when you think about fundraisers and all those types of things, that's part of the good report, which one are you looking forward to the most? Can you think of one that you're like, ooh, I love that one?
Okay, I'm going to be biased here. The Idaho Golf Classic, the first day of summer, June 21st,
Okay.
is actually the first time we've done a golf tournament. So
Okay.
we're super excited.
Come
It's going to
on.
be at the Idaho Club. And we've got some great partners already that are going to
Cool.
make that happen.
That's June 21st.
Yeah.
Wow. Love it.
It's pretty
That's awesome.
exciting for us
That's
to
awesome.
do a golf tournament.
And by us, you mean?
SCRC, but new name, CREC, or Community Resource Envision Center.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk all about that good news
Yeah.
with the new Envision Center process. But so I'll bring my good report. I'm a basketball junkie, so I was super excited to see us actually have an NCAA men's tournament, a full 68 teams versus they were looking at, doing 32 or even 16. And I was like, even though my favorite team, Gonzaga, would be in there regardless. I also have to say, because anybody who is a big sports fan, they always know about the East Coast versus West Coast bias. And so far, the Pac-12 has only lost one game through the entire tournament. And so I know, like they've sent 5 teams and only 1 loss. So versus like the Big 12 sent, or Big 10 sent 8 teams and only 2 are left, I'm like, come on, let's go. So, I prioritize, us West Coast. Growing up here in the Northwest, I'm like, yep. So that's exciting. I think one of the things that I was going to mention last time that I didn't mention is I wanted to give a shout out and a good report on Western Pleasure Guest Ranch. Because they have made it through all of the COVID protocols and everything else, and they have done phenomenally well. Raleigh and Janice are just amazing people, and Meek and I were able to get a 3-night getaway last month. to Western Pleasure. So shout out to Raleigh and Janice. I said that backwards. But because we're just super grateful to have that type of facility, that type of amenity where you can go out in the cabin in the woods, no TV, no Wi-Fi, no cell service, and just come down from all of the busy, inundated stuff all the time, unless of course you're listening to the Barner Breakdown podcast, which is great. Like, I'm not going to stop you from doing that, but
kind of a mini staycation. Not quite, but
it was great. It was great just to be able to
awesome.
get away. So that was about a month ago, and just had a wonderful time. So we're super grateful for Western Pleasure. Shout out to them, and another great local family that really supports the community as well. So super grateful. So that's my good report, and we'll give ourselves a little cheers here.
Cheers.
Yep, cheers to the ting. We used to go ting because we had ting glasses. Ting, so.
You gotta love Ting.
Yep, they're the sponsor that launched this whole broadcast. They were our first major sponsor. So
That's
yes,
awesome.
always a place for Ting in our hearts here at the
yeah.
Barner Breakdown for sure. So cool.
That's great.
So let's dive in a little bit to what's been going on at the Resource Center, and just so that if people are listening, they didn't listen to the first episode, from 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. Let's talk about you a little bit, kind of your history, background, and then we'll talk about the Sandpoint Community Resource Center, and now it's transitioned to the CREC. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us your background.
I took this position right after we moved here, about in July it'll be 3 years that we've been here. So I'm in my third year at the Resource Center, and moved from out of state. I won't say where.
No, it's okay.
Moved from out of
Just
state.
because you're like, I'm afraid to say what state I came from. We know. Okay.
And just have a background in business and management. Actually, I worked in Silicon Valley for many years in a leadership position for Charles Schwab and Company, and was a certified financial planner, and so this is very different, but it does bring a lot of skill sets to running a nonprofit, which people think, oh, it's a nonprofit, but no, it's really just a corporation with a tax favored status. So
Yep.
So it's good experience, I think.
That's great.
To bring to bear.
That's great. And so you got hired on 3 years ago as the executive director. And what have been some of the big changes that you've seen at the Resource Center since you started?
Well, when I started, I just entered into my third year. So just 2 years ago, the community was still a little confused about what we did.
Right.
Because we had 3 different pillars in the community to support the community.
Yeah.
So the Resource Center, which is where we were a referral hub, we don't actually provide services there, but we would refer people in need to the resources they need. So we keep a pulse on, what's going on with
all
service
the different
providers.
Things. Yeah. Okay.
And then we formed our SPIN network, that stands for Service Provider Information Network, which brought really into community all the service providers to come together and work together and to identify gaps and overlaps and how can we do this better, right?
And those were really powerful when they started, because suddenly you've got hundreds of nonprofits in the area, and many of them overlapping services, and then also many people having different approaches to how to resolve those problems. And we were able to kind of discover what each other were doing, and then find areas for collaboration, which was brand new. There wasn't really a lot of overlap unless you had a very, very aggressive board member that served on 3 similar types of things. You would never even really know what other people were doing. So that was super helpful. Yeah, that was big for us.
We were really, so those were quarterly meetings, and up until last March, we were we were getting 80 to 85 people in different service providers,
Right.
and they were topic specific. So
Yes.
we were really pleased with that kind of
Yeah,
outcome.
housing, transportation, mental health,
Ex-
just tons of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So now we meet monthly right now via Zoom. I'm hoping that very soon that we can come back to
And in
meeting
person.
in person. Yeah, it's just better, right? And I think we're all kind of over Zoom meetings.
I know a lot of people, we call it Zoom fatigue, right? Where you're just like, if I have to stare at the screen to talk to people, there is something that I think in COVID that is being lost, and it's that personal touch.
Yeah.
And I think people are hungry for that because it's kind of how our society is wired. We're not wired to be isolated or as humans,
Yeah.
so, okay.
And you miss that, just that, even after the meeting's over and going and connecting with somebody that you saw and
Yeah,
saying hi. I haven't seen
socializing.
you. Yeah. So I think this year we're going to see a turnaround in that.
Okay.
And then the third pillar that we had was a platform that really connected nonprofits and volunteers together, almost like a speed dating site,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we actually ended up building out. We used a national platform before, which was kind of cumbersome to use. So we ended up building out our own platform. We launched it last January 2020, and it's called Volunteer Connect. And so a nonprofit can go on and list almost like a job board.
Wow.
So we've got an event coming up and we need, 10 volunteers for this and here's the hours, or we need someone weekly in the office. So
Wow.
it is almost like a job board. And then
That's so great.
we have so many people moving to the area that they want to contribute to
They
the
do,
community
yeah.
they live in, right?
Yeah, they do.
So if we
Contrary to popular opinion, many of them are really nice people.
They are. And you know what? If someone wants to be engaged, let's make that happen.
Yeah, come on. That's
and
great.
so due to COVID, of course, we lost all of our volunteers because almost everybody was a senior.
Wow.
And
yeah.
as did a lot of nonprofits.
Right.
And plus everything just shut down, as we know, and there just wasn't a need for volunteers. Well, now I'm starting to get calls like, is there anything going on?
Wow.
So we're ready to, in fact, I'm looking for an ambitious volunteer who would like to kind of take over the Volunteer Connect. And what it would do is really, I need someone that really wants to go out and engage and meet the community, meet leaders in the community.
Wow.
And
what an opportunity that would be for somebody. That's great.
Yeah, go work with the nonprofits. It's really easy to say, hey, let me just post that for you. Let me put that up for you. Or sit and teach them. It's a really easy platform to use to post opportunities.
It is. Yeah.
And so then also, I think there's a great opportunity with real estate agents to even put it in their packet. People move into town like, hey, you might want to get involved.
Right.
Reach out to the, Envision Center and find out how you can volunteer, because then a volunteer can go in and put, what are their passions? Because here's why a lot of people don't volunteer, Chris, is because they have experience, they've been in situations where like, how do I find myself here?
Yeah.
How do I get out of this? They feel embarrassed because they don't want to do it. And people are spending...
And obligated.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so we want to try to make a good fit from the get-go so that people spend their time, talent, and their treasure in a way that is passionate to them.
Okay. Cool.
So whether it's pets or the arts or human services.
Right. Yeah.
So...
That's great.
I am looking for somebody.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll definitely keep that in mind. And if somebody's interested, they just call the resource center.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And all that, the contact information, website information is all going to be in the show notes. So if you're listening on the podcast, go to the notes section and you'll find the contact information for Linnis and the group there at the resource center. So, all right, cool. So those were the main things that you guys were doing, and we're doing, and now what's happening now?
So I think everybody businesses, nonprofits, organizations. I think everybody had a churches. I think everyone had a COVID reset, didn't we?
I think so.
I think we had
That's
a
a
lot.
great way to put it, because, I was talking to a friend of mine who's a pastor in Ohio, and he said, yeah, it's like God told the world to take a Sabbath. Like,
For a year.
go rest,
Yeah.
like lay down,
Yeah.
type of situation. And I think it's really is a great way to look at it as a reset. So cool.
So I in all summer I was, of course, like everybody, on webinars, and really we were
Yeah.
really diving into trying to address some of the new client needs that we were seeing, because well, as you know, prior to COVID, we primarily served the Alice population.
Okay, and Alice is
Asset limited, income constrained, employed. So it's the working poor.
yeah.
It's the two-parent family working 4 jobs.
They don't have a savings account. They're
Yep.
living check to check.
Yeah.
Right, and they have a job.
Yep.
Right?
Or 2.
Or 2, but they're stuck
Yeah.
because they're not able to save enough in emergencies, or maybe they save, an emergency happens and that saving is gone.
Right.
So it's very difficult to get out of that cycle
Yeah.
of working poor.
Or they don't even have a savings.
Well,
And
yeah,
they're-
but if they do,
and
it
then
gets
they're
sucked
one
up.
unexpected expense away
One,
from
yep.
a crisis.
Crisis,
Really
yeah.
a crisis.
Wow.
So what happened?
And that was the primary people that you would work with.
Yeah.
Okay.
So enter COVID last March. All that population were still there
Uh-huh.
with more needs.
Wow.
And then we had a new population of people who had never had to ask for help before.
Wow.
And maybe they were in the food services industry or hospitality industry, or they worked for a business that shut down, or their own business shut down, or they had to stay home with the child and
Wow.
provide childcare or
Wow.
homeschool. So,
Wow.
that was 44% of the clients we
Whoa.
served last year were directly related to COVID. And so we actually doubled the number of people from 2019 to 20. We served over 900 people last year.
Wow.
And so that was
So
double
wait, okay. So you doubled the amount because of COVID.
from
The
2019
needs
to 20.
doubled. The number of people that needed assistance doubled.
Yeah.
Okay.
And here's the thing, it really hasn't slowed down.
Right.
People have, if you got knocked back because of COVID, you got knocked back financially, chances are you're not on your feet.
You're not back
You're not
yet.
back in your game yet.
Wow.
And so it really caused us to, and we laid off half of our staff
Yeah.
because it was a spin coordinator. So we weren't doing spin meetings. They're just,
Zoom calls now.
yeah. So
That's
we were working with reduced staff, and I was introduced to this concept of Envision Centers in August. I got a grant from the Idaho Nonprofit Center for 5 sessions with a nonprofit coach, and I thought, great. I'm always looking for pearls, Chris.
come
Always.
on. And
So-
yes.
So and she was in Michigan. But
Awesome.
doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
And on the second session, she said, you kind of operate like an Envision Center. Do you know what those are? What that is? And I go, no. It's and it was a program that Dr. Ben Carson introduced through HUD when he was Secretary of HUD, and the concept is for rural underserved areas. Hello, welcome to the Panhandle, right?
Yep.
And it was to provide a hub or a centralized location of services so that people can reach self-sufficiency.
Wow.
Because here's what happens now. We give someone a $25 gas voucher, or, well, we help them get a $25. So we send them maybe to Helping Hands, Healing Hearts. Go get your gas voucher.
Salvation Army or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
And then here's the rest of your plan. then go this way to the Department of Labor and go this way to the food bank, and then Kenixu Health or Bonner Partner Cares, they're out that way. And what happens is we lose people in that, because you got to remember, people are in crisis, right? And we're going,
Go here, go there, go
right,
to the, yeah,
go here,
yeah.
and they're not pass and go
Hoop
and getting
here,
$200.
hoop here.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Wow.
it became very apparent that we need to do this differently, because the Alice
Right.
population, and it's the same in Bonner and Boundary County. These are not
Okay.
cumulative, but it's 48%. 16% they're in abject poverty
48% of what
of the entire population
is in Alice?
of the county.
Okay.
So,
All right, hang on, because these are the stats that we can't just walk over.
right.
It's too important. So for everyone who's comfy and cozy at home and they've got lots of money saved up, or they, or whatever, they're comfortable.
Right.
Over half of the just under half
Right.
of the people that live here are living check to check, one paycheck away from a major crisis.
They live on a knife edge. And here's the thing.
That's 48%.
Uh-huh.
48%. I just
16% they're
someone
in,
needs to let that sink into their heart
Right.
a little bit. 48%.
yeah, 16%
Wow.
they're in poverty.
Yes.
The other 32%, they're just above the poverty line.
Okay.
But here's the thing. Everybody moving here, right? They think it's Mayberry. Like, we're moving to Mayberry.
Yeah, and that's an Andy Griffith show reference, if anybody's curious.
Oh, yeah.
And
For the younger crowd.
That's right. Andy Griffith show back. It was the classic TV,
Yeah.
Perfect Town,
Yeah.
where they had no crime.
Nobody locked
Except
their
for the
doors.
distilleries, right?
Yeah.
Except for everybody who's brewing their own alcohol.
So anyway, but the people who live and work and make Mayberry, like
Right.
the people in the restaurants, people in all the stores,
Yep.
can't afford to live here
That's right.
without two jobs.
Yep.
So that number continues to climb. But here's the interesting thing about the Alice report. They only do that survey every 2 years. So those numbers just came out, and they only take us through 2018. So 2020 is not in there.
Whoa.
And I have no idea what
Well,
it's
we can
gonna
say anecdotally that it's higher.
my guess is it is.
Well,
But-
or they've been displaced.
So
Yeah.
people moving here, I would think that most people moving here and making the investments in home that they are, and that they're plan on spending the rest of their life here. So those are the people we need to reach, because they come with experience, they come with ideas, and it's going to take the entire community to make this work.
Okay.
So,
Tell me about that. Tell me, when you say make this
right, the
work,
Envision
what
Center.
is this?
So the Envision Center, we did put in our application
To HUD?
with HUD,
Okay.
which entailed bringing stakeholders, major community stakeholders around the table, with the HUD team from Seattle and Boise coming. They came in physically to Sandpoint to meet with us, and they did say that they've never had a community get it together and get an application in so quickly as we did.
Wow.
And
By community, that's you, Linnis.
we did it though.
You did the application.
And so we got approved.
Well,
so,
I know that we voiced our letter of support and
You
got
did.
that to you right away.
and you
so.
came to one of the
I
meetings.
did, absolutely, yeah.
Because they want to know, even though, okay, so I just want to clarify. The HUD affiliation did not come with a check. Everybody thinks maybe we got money. We didn't. There may be some time in the future, but there isn't right now. What it does come with is that we've just gained a major advocate for our community, because HUD has access and they've got the bandwidth to go
They do.
find services and resources that are available for underserved rural areas, that are available
Yep.
qualified
Totally.
opportunity zones, right?
Totally.
And
Yep.
I don't know a executive director today that has the bandwidth to go search and look and find that stuff. I know I don't.
No. HUD's resource bank is I don't think people understand how big HUD is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we look at like what are the largest departments in the government, who gets the most money,
Yeah.
right? So we start with the military,
Yeah.
gets the most. Next, HUD,
Oh, it is.
and number 2.
I did not know
Uh-huh.
that.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And then OMB after that, right? Who
Wow.
owns all the buildings and all the all
Right.
the real estate.
Well,
HUD gets a ton of money.
right. So I'm super excited. So there's 90 Envision centers
Okay.
in the United States.
Yeah.
There's 2 in Idaho. We're the second, and St. Vincent de Paul's in Coeur d'Alene
Okay. Wow. Cool.
was the first. Spokane Resource Center is an Envision center,
Okay.
and one of the tribes in the Portland area.
Oh, okay.
That's 4, only 4 in the entire Northwest.
Wow.
So what this is going to do basically for our community is optimize our resources.
Wow. That's so great.
Right?
Yeah.
So that we can quickly identify overlaps and gaps,
Mm-hmm.
and that we're not sending someone in crisis here, there, and everywhere, only to lose them in the process, and then 6 weeks later they show back up with
Right.
more needs.
So now clarify for me, what exactly is the resource center? Okay, so you get the designation from HUD.
Yeah.
Is it just a centralized location? Like what is it?
Centralized location. We've taken space out at the Sandpoint Tech Center, the old Coldwater Creek campus.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got room for, including us, 8 nonprofits to co-locate and be there full time.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Then we have room to accommodate if they've got a volunteer that comes in once a week that needs a desk or needs a private area to work.
Co-working spaces.
Yeah. And then we've also got several agencies, nonprofits that will be maybe a little more transient, once a week, once every 2 weeks.
Okay.
The Department of Health has agreed to send someone once a month to start.
Great.
Social Security will be here once a month. How great is that going to be? So
Wow.
people don't have to go to Coeur d'Alene.
Wow, that's huge. Especially for the people that can't travel.
Right. And so the vision of the Envision Center is to have resources under one roof,
Mm-hmm.
and then to focus on. So there's 4 areas of focus for an Envision Center,
Okay.
and this is how. The undertaking is huge. I mean, as you
Okay.
can imagine.
Yeah.
Let's turn the dial on poverty, on generational poverty, and on situational poverty. Sounds good, looks okay on paper and in a grant, but the reality of that is what caused me to launch this really as the decade of dreams. Because we're just entering our 2nd decade of service in the community. I believe it's going to take a full decade to really make a difference and really, really turn the dial.
Okay.
I think we can see some initial results in like 3 to 5 years,
Awesome.
right? But the 4 areas where everything we do will fall into one of these buckets. It's financial empowerment,
Okay.
educational advancement,
Mm-hmm.
health and wellness,
Okay.
and character and leadership.
Okay.
So
Wow. All right.
we're working with the state of Idaho, Department of Labor on apprenticeship programs, on the job training, tech programs. Job Corps is back here. And,
Wow.
but there again, just for Job Corps to really flourish and do what it's meant to do for that 18 to 24-year-old, we need transportation
Yep.
to Coeur d'Alene.
Yep. Okay.
So here's a great example. So here HUD's out there looking like they're just searching and finding program services, and they bring them and say, does this fit with you guys? Do you want this? Do you want this? So let's say they come up with a transportation grant or a transportation, program. I'm not going to run it. I would turn around to David Sims, who does transportation really well at Spot.
Yeah.
And say, hey, does this work for you guys to take this on, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's what I mean by really, really coming together.
Right.
And I'll have the ability to, with some new lanes of funding that's available for us now as the Envision Center, to even do some sub grants.
Okay. Wow. So, cool.
Yeah, I think
amazing.
The possibilities have really expanded.
Okay.
This year.
So now that we kind of wrap our head around this concept of the Envision Center, right? We go, okay, we've got a centralized location out there off of McGee Road and Highway 200 there where Lighthouse is right there. You've got the old, the tech campus as it's called now. So we've got this place where up to 8 different nonprofits can just call home, right? Mm-hmm. And we have a lot of nonprofits out here. Is there a specific style of nonprofit that's going to fit better than another? What kind of criteria are you looking for in that nonprofit space?
Well, I think the synergy is needed with all the different sectors within nonprofits.
So maybe you're looking for representation from the different sectors. Okay.
Right, but mostly, we're into human services. Mostly. Yeah. Food, housing, transportation, clothing, medical, and so our partners are all the nonprofits, agencies. By that I mean Department of Labor, Department of Health and Welfare. We work closely with Panhandle Health and the hospital. All of those are all needed partners, right? But we also, let's look at it. Our partners are also foundations. The 2 big ones here are Innovia and the Idaho Community Foundation. Yep. Partners. Yep. Because they invest in our community.
They do.
They're big partners.
Yep.
And then donors of all, the individual donors, the business donors, private businesses they're going to be needed partners because if we're going to create a place where people can thrive and flourish. Let's say they have an entrepreneurial spirit and they want to start a business. Let's bring business owners alongside.
Come on.
Is there somebody that would spend an hour
with huge.
A young couple or a young single mom and say, I did this, I've been in your spot, don't make this mistake. Here's what I did. Right. And would just, this is what it's going to take to really see a difference, I think, at the end of a decade. It is everybody coming together. And so for everyone here, you've got something to offer. If you want to help change our community, right? Because we serve families, veterans, seniors, the disabled, homeless, COVID-related, and like I said, it hasn't slowed down. Yeah.
So where are you at in the process?
We're moving April 30th.
What?
Yeah.
That's coming right up.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're going to be up there at the new Envision Center. And who's coming with you at this point?
Well, a lot of people are looking.
Okay, as they should. Yeah.
A lot of people are looking. Okay. This is going to be really cost effective for any nonprofit.
Spread it thin. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I would just imagine that after last year and canceling fundraisers and there was definitely donor fatigue because with 305 nonprofits in Sandpoint, 150 of them, 150 are active. Don't think that, all the donors were tapped last year.
I don't think the 150 includes the number of churches that people give to either.
Right. True. I don't think it does either.
I don't think it does.
But with that, I believe that this is going to give an opportunity for people who have to maybe step back,
Okay.
donors to step back and take a bigger picture look.
Okay. All right.
And maybe be able to give to something that touches so many different areas and so
Right.
many different nonprofits.
Okay.
Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah. So, when we look at the space that you're moving into, tell us a little bit about what sets that apart, makes it unique, or what do you love about the space that you're moving into? I mean, you and I have had a chance to walk it and go through that,
Right.
but tell me a little bit about it.
Well, each nonprofit that co-locates with us will have their own autonomy. They don't become part of the Envision Center.
Right.
They basically sublease a space of their own.
Okay.
But then there's all this great common space. There's a large training and meeting room or a board room. There's, like I said, the work pod areas that are going to be available. We're going to have 4 public use computers because, as you know, people come in, they haven't filled out paperwork or they need to, or
Yep.
we help people all the time. Well, let me help you with that application. So this way, and everybody's clients can access those. Like, here,
That's
let's
great.
put you over here, and let's say, because here's what we know: the best time to help someone is when they're in front of you,
Absolutely.
right?
Yep.
Because they've mustered up the courage to walk through the door.
Wow.
And say, I need help.
Wow.
So the worst thing we can do is send them down all these rabbit trails.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So if we can get them and in a really thorough intake assessment process, come up with an action plan. And let's say you were out there and they needed to meet with you, but you couldn't meet with them maybe for an hour and a half. Well, in the meantime, what some of the things you're going to need to do is a basic budgeting class, or
Yeah.
whatever. So we put them over on a computer, like, let's get this going. This is all part of it, but let's not waste any time. And I think get them involved in their own process, because I really believe in helping people help themselves.
Yeah.
And
Well, the stuff that sticks is usually the stuff you invest in, that you have to, because crisis is hard because life happens, and there's so many things that do go down that are so far outside of what we can control.
right.
So many things. And that's, I know a lot of people are like, well, if you just made different choices, or not,
Right.
or not,
Yeah.
like things happen. And so being able to come to a place where they can get the help that they need in the moment is absolutely critical, along with figuring out how to step into the next level that's been elusive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But people come in and they're kind of out of hope, right?
Right. Yeah.
But when someone really wants to, my example of the difference between a handout and a handout. And
Do you want to give that for the people who?
I will, because I think it's a great visual.
Uh-huh.
So let's say that Sam falls down on the floor and he can't get up. And you go over and you give him a pillow and a blanket because it's cold, right? Have you helped him?
Yep.
You've made him more comfortable?
Yep.
Right? And I come by and I go, hey, Sam, do you want to use my phone to make a phone call? And maybe, Mika comes by and brings them some food, right? We've all made him comfortable in his down state, right?
Yep.
That's a handout. So the hand up is going to require my energy, my resources, my emotion, because I'm going to get over here and I'm going to go, Sam, grab my arm. I'm going to reach around, grab your shoulder. You need to grab my arm, and we're going to, on 3, we're getting up. It's going to be a struggle for me, and it's going to be a struggle for him. And that's how we're going to know, is it a hand up?
Yeah. Is it a struggle?
Because
It's not easy. We do.
Helping people is messy,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Well, and honestly, the hardest part is being able to, that I see in my different lines of work, one of the hardest things I see is people having a willingness to say, maybe I should do it differently.
But when you're having that conversation and you see that hope spark,
That's right. Because there is light at the end of the tunnel.
and you can see it, it's tangible. I've
Yep.
seen it so many times. It's
I
tangible.
can't count how many stories of people, and I've had several people on our show here who've lived in their cars. They've been homeless.
Yeah.
They have been without. I know a gal that was in a really rough situation, single mom, kids, living in her car, and now owns a very successful business and is thriving. And it took some really hard conversations for her to be able to say, okay, I can do this, and I have the support, and to get the support that they need. I think that's so important, so important. And I think it is good to say, maybe for a moment, sure, take a rest. You're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Let's help you out. And at the same time, we're going to continue to help you get to where you're supposed to be, where you want to be.
But people like that really do make a change, they got skin in the game.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
you do this, we'll do this.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's walking alongside. And
Well, do you have pushback against that? Do you feel like, that mindset of,
yeah.
hey, we want to help and give, help people out of the mindset or out of the situational poverty, and it's going to require some things from them to get to this other place. Do you get pushback on that concept? Because it feels like if there's tension, even in us talking about it, there's some tension there,
is.
Yeah.
Well, even just dealing with the two types of poverty that we see mostly are generational poverty, which is learned, not chosen.
It's a lifestyle.
Right.
Yep.
They don't know any different.
Yep.
Situational, which we saw with COVID, a lot of that situational crisis poverty.
Yeah.
But pushback, I have no fantasy that we're going to save everybody. Right?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to have the mentally ill with us. We're going to
Yep.
have the addicted. We're going to have people that just don't want to change. And guess what we're going to do as a society? We're going to help them.
That's right.
Right?
Yep.
We're going to help them.
So you're not saying that you're not going to help those people,
Right. We're going to help them.
but we want to create an opportunity for those people who want to shift all those other areas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Cool.
Exactly.
Cool. Well, Linnis, tell me what else is on your plate here with the Envision Center. You renamed it from SCRC to the CREC,
Yes. Very
the
good.
Community Resource Envision Center.
Yeah.
Okay. So what else is going on with that?
Well, I'm just casting the vision, looking
Mm-hmm.
for partners and stakeholders who want to come out and put
Okay.
a stake in the ground
Yeah.
in this project.
Yeah.
And put a stake in the ground and say, we got to do something different.
Yeah.
And even on the, I was on the annual meeting for Anovia's community leaders
Okay.
today, and it came up a lot. The term silo, the term siloed. And I've been saying that, which was kind of an impetus for this whole, to pursue the Envision Center and pursue what, is this going to float here? And so, you probably gathered, I'm building the plane as I go, because
That's awesome.
you have to, I think you said it to me. Nobody else was going to make a commitment until we did.
That's
I
right.
really wanted to have all the partners
I
lined
totally.
up.
That's exactly
I
what I
know.
told you.
I know.
I'm like, this is a great idea, but unless you jump.
Yeah, and
Right.
so we jumped. I have to tell you, I did pop out in a rash when I signed the lease, but we did it.
I love it.
We're really excited.
Yeah,
And so that's what
yeah.
I want to do right now is really just
It's good.
continue to cast the vision.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
it's going to take,
Yeah.
the right people are going to catch it.
Yep. Can I
and want
want
to
to
partner.
encourage, I want to encourage the people that are watching and listening to this show. This is a pivotal show for our region. What you're doing is pivotal because it will transition us from being a McCall or being Sun Valley or being Aspen or some of these places that none of the locals can stay, and because that's the trajectory that housing is moving, is it's impossible for local people to. If you had told me 3 years ago that the cheapest I'd be able to build a manufactured home in Bonner County is over $250,000, I would have said, you're crazy. No way. Well, that's where we're at. That's where we're at. I may be able to to get a lot in a city, not Sandpoint, because that's not going to happen again. Just price wise, it's just not possible. But, in one of the outlying cities, where there's sewer and water, and to get in there, to get it built and everything else, I may be able to get one at 245 this year, 245,000. I mean, it's just like I don't think we see the severity of what's coming. Right. We've been on this brink since '04. Right. And so luckily for a lot of the residents, there was an economic slowdown that slowed the growth here a little bit, but that's not going to happen again because the genie's out of the bottle. Cat is out of the bag.
Yeah, this is no longer a well-kept secret.
We are
Right.
we are well on the map. The faucet is open, and one of the real pivotal issues about what you're doing is that if we're going to prevent the local population, those people that are raised here that do not have generational wealth or don't come having earned wealth from other areas, those local families aren't going to be local anymore. They're not going to be able to stay, right? So that's something that we've got to address and deal with just for the sake of our community.
And
so
those
you're
people,
dealing with that here.
And those people, they're not going to leave and travel back. They won't be able to travel back here to maintain their jobs.
No.
So they're leaving. They'll leave the area
and be gone.
And be gone.
Yep.
And then the next cycle.
And you know what's funny?
Through.
Mika was skiing the other day, and there was a couple up there with their kids, and they're Mika stops and she's chatty.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I think maybe Quinn fell down or something. I don't know. But they're chatting and they're like, everybody's so nice here. And we're going to move up here. We're moving up here. And Mika's like, no, wait, we've got a lot already, not that we're not transplants from 15 years ago now, but, the reality is that there's something about this place that people absolutely love. And guess what? It's the people.
Right. It's the people.
It's the people.
Yep.
And so, and I love the concept that you were talking about of there's a lot of people that move up here that have great hearts, great attitudes. They're generous with their money, they're generous with their time, and they're generous with their talent. So let's get them plugged in and connected to preserve that amazing feeling that people have when they walk into a store and they walk into the local shops and the local businesses and they feel what's uniquely North Idaho.
Yeah.
Right? Which is a beautiful thing. So yeah, we need to preserve that all the ways that we can.
It's so similar to Lake Tahoe area.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got a jewel of a lake. You got world-class skiing.
Yep.
You got an international airport within an hour and a half. And we watched the same thing happen there. And the infrastructure is on their heels trying to catch up.
Oh, we're way beyond it. Yeah.
Right, we're seeing that here. So
yep. Well, if you go back, I just did a recent episode with Dan McDonald, one of the county commissioners, talking about the toll of growth on the roads and on the infrastructure and where can we develop and how can we develop and what is it that we can do. And it's not going to make everybody happy, and change has to happen if we're going to actually maintain the priority of the people here, so
it's all
I'm
about
passionate
the people.
about it. You can tell I'm getting all fired up over here.
Yeah, it's about the people.
It is.
And
it absolutely is.
And the other thing is the one of my favorite parts about the four focus areas is character and leadership. And I think we need to catch some of these young people before they think, well, I can't stay here. I'll never be able to buy a house. And look what's happened in my little hometown. And we need to pour into those people.
Yeah,
that's our
absolutely.
future.
Yeah, you're so
We
right.
need to pour into them and come alongside them
Yep.
and give them, spark that hope.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. Well, I'm so glad that you're running the Community Resource Envision Center out there, and congrats on signing a lease.
Yeah.
And
Come on out.
and we really are calling on nonprofits
Yeah.
to consider centralizing your services with other nonprofits that you can partner with in order to serve people more quickly and with greater ease for the client.
And it just makes good business sense too, because
Okay.
it's cost effective
Yep.
for the
Yep.
nonprofit to
Yep.
move, co-locate.
Mm-hmm.
The only expenses they're going to have is their insurance.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to provide Wi-Fi
Mm-hmm.
to everyone,
Okay.
and that's it. There's plenty of parking. There's
Awesome.
it's.
Yep. That's great.
And then the other cost effective part, which just makes good business sense, is to optimize our resources.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Okay. Well, with that, is there anything else that you wanted to share before we wrap it up today?
No, but thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for your enthusiasm and your support. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me.
Oh, well, I'm a very firm believer that what we have up here is internationally unique. There's only one of us. There's only one town like this. There's only one region of the world that is built the way that we're built, with its positives and its pitfalls. And I believe that we are to be a world leader in dealing with helping our community thrive. Like it's like most small communities struggle with this. They all struggle, but I feel like there's a special recipe on this region that will allow us to be a community that can actually unite beyond politics, unite beyond wealth gaps, unite beyond a lot of that stuff. I really believe that we will be known, and people will come to this area from all over the world to say, what happened there?
Right.
How did you guys do that? And it's people like you, Linnis. It's people like some of our elected officials that are willing to set their agenda aside to cast a bigger vision. I think that for our spiritual leaders, for the people that are willing to get in the dirt and help people climb out, and I've got big dreams. I got big vision for a ton of stuff, but this is why I've stayed at the housing agency, which I did resign from this last year, as the executive director. I'm still managing projects, but and we're still looking for an executive director. So if anybody's interested, let me know. But the reality is that there's something so special and unique on this place, and I think it is a wild disservice for us not to grab up some of these newcomers to the area and say, hey, let's pour in. You can help this place become everything it's supposed to be. So
let's look beyond just the Envision Center phase 1.
Right. This
Maybe
is so
phase
much bigger.
2, it becomes a business development center,
Yep.
along with, the Human Resources Center.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bigger.
Well, I
Think
talk to
bigger.
so many people. I'll say, Linnis, I talk to so many people in the religious context where they felt like God gave them a vision of a business development center or a co-working space or a retreat for leaders from all over the world to come and rest and relax and get filled up. I mean, I hear story after story after story, and they're all drawn here, and they don't know why. They just come across the Long Bridge and go,
Right.
oh, and here we are. We had this experience, and now we're here. And so I feel like the community needs continued growth in our ability to see outside of the religious box and to see outside of the secular world or the political world and all these different boxes that we're constantly putting everything and everyone in, and go, okay, there's something way bigger that's happening here that we can all get on board with. And then see what happens out of that. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping we can pull it off.
Yeah, let's do
I'm
it.
sure we will. And I love that decade of dreams.
Right. Yeah.
Come on, that is really, really good.
So it's not pie in the sky.
Yeah.
We can do this in a decade.
I think so.
We could become a model for we could become a model for rural underserved areas.
That's right. That's
Right?
right. Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. You know, and you know, we are so blessed to be in a place where people with resources are coming.
So Chris, when you put my information up, put my cell phone
Okay.
so that people can call
Well, why
me
don't you say it
directly.
right now if anybody's listening, and then we'll put it on the screen
Okay.
and it'll be in the show notes.
530-414-5126.
Okay. Great. So if you are interested in supporting this or you have a question for Linnis, you can reach out to her.
Yep.
And with that, I think we're ready to wrap it up. What a great
go.
conversation.
Thank you.
We're excited to see what's going to happen with the Envision Center out there on McGee Road starting April 30th. You guys are moving in.
Well, May 1st will be open.
What?
Yeah, or whatever that Monday is. I think it's May.
May.
So 30th is Saturday. So May 2nd.
May 2nd. Awesome.
We'll be serving clients.
No, 30th is Friday. So,
Okay.
Friday, 1st, 2nd,
So
3rd. May
4th.
3rd. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll
May,
be open.
May the 4th be with you. No, I'm just
Yeah.
All right. With
That
that,
was a
thank
good
you.
one.
And if you're watching, make sure if you felt like the information in today's episode was worth listening to, we share out this podcast. Share out the Facebook video, YouTube video, of course, anywhere that you get podcasts, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, you name it. Pandora, we're everywhere. So share out the episode, and if you felt like this vision resonated in you, like, hey, this is something that we should be getting behind, this is something we should be supporting, get a hold of Linnis, and we'll be pressing into that. I think this whole episode was a good report. So cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
All right, thanks. Have a good day.
Thanks.